Commissioner's Office. I'm Commissioner Jerry Serino, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. We are live streaming, and we know there are a number of media outlets who are going to be covering this press conference today remotely, and a couple that may be on their way, but we may be competing with local flooding for media attention. No thanks to the mayor here from Eastlake, who's behind all of the flooding that we experience in Lake County. No, we hope everything works out well at the Chagrin River in Eastlake. And we're delighted to have so many guests here today from our community in general, including so many police chiefs and as well as our sheriff's office represented. And we have our local congressman's office represented as well, Dave Joyce, and some others that will be introduced subsequently. But we're excited about this, and we're excited about what we're going to be telling you about today because it literally is a first in the state of Ohio. The first in the state of Ohio. No other county has done, or at least has immediate plans that we are aware of to do what we're going to announce today as a commitment from the Board of Commissioners, along in cooperation with all of the mayors and managers in the county, as well as the police chiefs and the sheriff's office and the corrections office as well. There's been a lot of discussion in the last 6 months about law enforcement. Some of it good, some of it bad, and some of it somewhere in between. And we in Lake County, I have to say, have been very blessed. We believe, and I know all three commissioners agree on this, we have been blessed with very good law enforcement, very committed people in law enforcement in Lake County. And around the country, it's perhaps not so good, or perhaps there's just community issues in terms of relationships with law enforcement. And we certainly are, all three of us, on record against defunding law enforcement. Rather, and we think that is an inappropriate strategy, an inappropriate policy, and quite frankly, if you look at some of the cities around the country, I think it's actually incompetent leadership that would even suggest that or entertain the idea. But we do recognize that we can always do better at what we do, and continuous improvements are something that the political subdivisions around the county. And this is unprecedented because the program that Commissioner Hamercheck is going to detail for you, along with a couple of our guests, is a program that addresses the issues of proper training for all of our law enforcement entities, to make sure that the best people and the best approaches and people that are trained in and skilled in all of the areas necessary to deliver proper law enforcement in the county are constantly updated and up to speed. It's when training is deficient and when policies are misunderstood or not quite taken where we run into problems very often. We don't in Lake County, but it happens around the country here. And so not only are we against defunding law enforcement, we are actually for investing in law enforcement in a way that we believe will be meaningful to the community, support our law enforcement entities, and also support the community and make sure that the community and our law enforcement agencies are working together to continue to have Lake County as a very good place to live, to raise a family, or to own and operate a business. You will hear from a couple of the police chiefs during the course of this press conference. And the other reason that this is a first in the state of Ohio is because of the level of cooperation, not only between the county commissioner's office, who is going to be securing the funding for this program, but also the cooperation and involvement in discussions preceding this press conference with members of our community. And I think that is absolutely critical if we are going to make sure that this program does what we think it's going to do in terms of delivering the highest quality law enforcement that we can in support of and with the cooperation of our community as well. We are truly blessed to live in Lake County. I really believe that. I think we're blessed to live in this country. We have things to correct and things to do better, as always. And that's what this program is about, to make sure that we are constantly evaluating policies, procedures, training, et cetera, and that the community is aware of what those improvements are going to be. And you will hear how this is already impacting one of our political subdivisions, the city of Paynesville, in a little bit. So at this point, I would like to introduce Commissioner John Hamercheck. John has led led the way in this project, and he'll tell you a little bit about his background. But besides being a commissioner, he has been in law enforcement himself in the county, and so he knows from which he's speaking. And he has been the real impetus behind this program and working with the community to make sure it does what we expect it to do. So we're very proud to be here today. We're proud with all of the individuals who have decided to come and join us, and we're hoping that everybody who is streaming will really understand and appreciate the historic nature of this announcement that we are making today. So, Commissioner Hamercheck.
Thank you, Jerry. Well, I'm proud to say that we have assembled here today several examples of Lake County's finest leaders. But I'm even more proud to say that we have assembled here examples of Lake County's finest servants. I always like to say that all things are simple upon explanation. Well, we're commissioning a unified policy and documentation system for law enforcement and our corrections officers. By way of background, today's initiative came out of the county's Begin the Conversation Committee, and that committee came out of an initiative by the Lake County branch of the NAACP. Approximately 3.5 years ago, Bishop Roderick Coffey asked a question. He asked, on behalf of the community, he wanted to see the data. It became apparent very quickly that see the data and data itself is very different to different people. And the analysis was subjective and not objective. It also became apparent that after much analysis and consideration, the data is driven by policies. Further analysis of the policies found that although policies are driven by statutory requirements, court precedent, and best practices, these very policies are not always reviewed and updated on a timely or effective manner. Now, this simple reality is what Bishop Coffey and I looked forward to as our Rosetta Stone. This is when the initiative really started to come together. Bishop Coffey chaired the Begin the Conversation subcommittee for building trust. And from this committee, we quickly determined that building trust goes hand in glove with education. This is where the elements of a unified policy system began to take form. Chief Dan Waterman of the Paynesville City Police Department offered up their city's system as an example for a starting point. When Bishop Coffey was called home, he left us with an understanding that worthy and worthwhile efforts are greater than any one person or group. With this in mind, before us is an initiative that is truly a worthy and worthwhile effort. This unified policy system for Lake County will be simple and direct and based on established principles and practices that will ensure confidence, conformity, and accountability from an agency to their officers and from their officers to their agency, but more importantly, from these organizations to our community. Bishop Coffey, on the day of his ordination to bishop, said he is to be referred to as Bishop, not Rod or Roderick or any other familiar term. But Bishop, this was to show that he had moved from his former self to the new man with new responsibilities and new accountabilities. This unified policy system is that bright line, that separation from the former to the new. This unified policy system will make it clear to anyone seeking to change, to simply talk to lawmakers, as change in the law will automatically be sent out as an update to all agencies and officers alike. The public will now have a clear path without any obstacles of having to address every agency individually. This unified policy system will be something to each, there's always something to each participating agency to support their unique needs. Additionally, this unified policy system is apolitical, and with a 5-year plan, it takes it beyond any one election cycle. It is real, it is substantial, and it is sustainable. Several of the key elements that we are looking at as far as scope of service: law enforcement and correction policy manuals, daily training bulletins, policy updates, web-based delivery platform with a mobile app, reports, supplemental publication services, law enforcement procedure guide and framework, agency-specific content extraction, policy cross-references, implementation services, policy update management, and daily training bulletin management. These elements are all essential for a successful system which can be adopted by every law enforcement agency as well as our corrections officers in Lake County. With that, I'd like to reach out to Chief Dan Waterman of the Painesville City Police Department. Sir, if you would.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'll ask you all to hold your applause till the end. I see how we've been. So we wouldn't be here today talking about the opportunity to have a cutting-edge policy system without the tireless and indefatigable efforts of Commissioner John Hamercheck. As some of you know, those of us in Begin the Conversation, we had sought grant funding for this policy program. We learned of a disappointment regarding that grant funding a couple months ago, and most of us gave up and thought that that would be the end of it. Commissioner Hamercheck re-energized that conversation. He brought it forward to his fellow commissioners, and suddenly we were faced with support from all 3 commissioners and new life in this conversation. And I know that I speak for a number of the chiefs in the back of the room here. Without this funding, we would have to go back to our budgets and make cuts that would otherwise make this impossible for us to have. Just wouldn't be achievable. So we are truly appreciative of the opportunity to have a cutting-edge best practices type policy system like this available to us. And again, we're very thankful to all the support from Begin the Conversation, to the chiefs, and certainly to Commissioner Hamercheck. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chief. And speaking of Begin the Conversation, we have with us Deacon Jones, who is a key member of Begin the Conversation and also president of the Lake County branch of the NAACP. Sir?
Commissioner, I wish you would have told me I was going to be speaking before I left home so I could have my wife to write my speech. So I'm barehanded. I'm by myself. But I'm thankful for the fact of where we've come from, and I'm thankful for where we are, because of working together, this is where we are, absolutely, period. When we started the beginning of the conversation years ago, we had no idea that it would get to this point. I remember sitting in Deborah Foley's living room, and we were talking about, that was during the time there was quite a few African Americans that was killed by police on the street. And she said, Deacon, you got to do something. What can I do? Okay, we got to do something, period. So out of that, we talked, well, why don't we begin the conversation. We'll start talking about it, okay? And we'll use that as a basis to work with, okay? So she said, so who are we going to get to work on it? I said, well, the first person I could think about is Prosecutor Colson, Chuck Colson. We ask him. And I was seeing this how you live on one side of him and I live on the other side. If he doesn't agree with it, we're going to come back and egg his house. So when we talked to him, he jumped on it. He picked it up, absolutely. And it moved. We were invited, the Begin the Conversation, we were invited to speak to American judges they met in Cleveland. This is judges from all over the United States and Canada. We gave them our program of beginning the conversation, and a lot of those judges took it back to their city, across the country and across Canada. So we're just thankful for the fact that we've had the opportunity, and we've had a good opportunity of working with good people, people that energized in where they're going and know where they're going and the need for getting there. So I thank you, and Commissioner Hamercheck, I thank you very much, because this man he's been a staple for us, absolutely, period. Thank you very much.
And we also have our Chief Public Defender here. Vanessa, would you care to come up and share some thoughts from begin the conversation from your perspective? Thank you.
So you've heard a lot about Begin the Conversation, and it is an important group of local community leaders that includes the police chiefs, the prosecutor, judges, county commissioners, school superintendents, the ministers from the local communities. We have social service agencies involved in it, as well as Latino outreach members. So, as indicated, one of our big endeavors this year has been to support and push for some sort of uniform police policy review system and training. These aren't just buzzwords, they're very important words, and I'll tell you as a criminal defense attorney, these are important words to us in our office, that we know that our police officers have up-to-date, statutorily and case law up-to-date, as well as according to current practices. These very good policies that are constitutionally sound. We believe that training the police officers almost instantaneously with the new practices are very important, because we'd like to see that, of course, carried out on the streets of our county. So Begin the Conversation is very excited and appreciative of the Lake County Commissioners for supporting this endeavor. It's our belief that this can only serve to enhance the Lake County's criminal justice system and ensure fair and equal treatment of all of our citizens. So we're very excited about this announcement today. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have with us Chuck Colson, our Lake County prosecutor. I hate to put you on the spot, sir. Is there anything you'd care to add to this? You've been such a strong supporter of all these efforts to get us to this point. Anything you'd care to add, sir?
No, I would just ditto everything everybody said.
Dittos are always good. Dittos are always good. Bless you, sir. And I'll put our chiefs on notice if any of you want to add anything, but while you're thinking about who might want to come up next, Commissioner Ron Young, sir, would you care to add some thoughts? Thank you, sir.
For everybody's benefit, I'd like to just say ditto, but I do have some things to pitch in here.
Hey, ditto's already been taken now, so.
You know, if you think about safety forces, probably the first thing that comes to mind is creating a safe environment where companies will want to move in and create jobs, families will want to move in and create jobs, and a community can grow together and prosper together. And in such a community, you find that crime is reduced, people are generally happier, and it's just a better place to live. And our safety forces are designed to create and maintain such an environment. You know, we have great infrastructure. We have a great workforce here in Lake County. We have efficient and affordable power. We have a good educational system. But if crime isn't under control, people aren't going to view this as an attractive community to raise their little ones, right? People aren't going to be flocking here to watch folks being waylaid on the streets and have their cars mutilated every night. That's not going to be something that's going to attract them to a community. So safety forces are so important for everything that we attempt to do here. We've really emphasized economic growth as commissioners here in Lake County. And companies and communities have really bought into that whole approach. But we can never forget about good policing and how that's such a fundamental building block to any successful community. And the last thing that you want to do if you want to improve your policing is cut their funding. I mean, that whole concept is insane. You know, we want a safer community. Okay, what do we do first? Well, we reduce the funding. There's an old saying in Columbus and Washington, and I believe here in Lake County, and that is, if you want more of something and better services, you subsidize it. There's no other pathway. You don't reduce funding to improve services. So this program costs a little bit of money. In fact, quite a bit of money. So I'm really glad that there's real community support for it, because I certainly wouldn't be supportive of it if the communities here in Lake County were not supportive. But I believe it's worth it, because I believe that long term it's going to save lives and make Lake County a better place to work and live. So I'm just proud to be part of this. I'm so glad that John brought this to my attention, and want to continue working with all of you to make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we are blessed to have in our attendance members of Bishop Coffey's family. Would any of you care to share some words with us? Thank you.
How much time do I have? Because, you know, I'm a preacher, so.
Keep it under 3 hours.
All right, I can do that. I want to thank Commissioner Hammercheck, Commissioner Serino, as well as Commissioner Young, all the police chiefs, Bishop Murbell, Deacon Al Jones, Vanessa Clapp, and anyone that I may have forgotten. Today is a day that speaks to my father's legacy. I always tell people a legacy is not a legacy until your impact exceeds your lifespan. And today, because of the work that he was willing to put in, the courage he had on often standing alone, the courage he had in going against the status quo, and the courage he had of challenging systems that were not, that did not treat the disenfranchised and every community the same. And so we thank him, I thank him even in his death for leaving a legacy that we will continue to push forward on. I stand today to challenge each and every one in this room to not become complacent. We still have so much work to do in our own community of Lake County, as well as the greater community of this country. Any relationship does not begin until conflict presents itself. And so I challenge every police chief, every commissioner, and whoever else we have in here that is a leader. I challenge you to not run away from conflict, to run to conflict. We must elevate ourselves now in our consciousness to get past Democrat and Republican. We must elevate our consciousness to get past black and white. We must elevate our consciousness to the place where right is right and wrong is wrong. In fact, it was Jesus himself who said in Matthew 20th chapter, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. If you stand in a position of leadership, you must not look at those you serve as beneath you. You must look at those you serve as the people that you have vowed to protect and to serve with your life. And I, as a pastor, do that. And so I challenge everyone to not become complacent. This is certainly a monumental time in our county's history. We celebrate it. But we don't celebrate it forgetting the work that is left for us to be done. And as I leave you with the words of Dr. King, who we are all familiar with. Dr. King says, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it." And so we, as I stand here, a member of the community, black community, we are not anti-police. We are anti-bad policing. Just like anyone that does not go to church or that does go to church, you're not anti-pastor. You're anti-bad pastoring. And so we challenge everyone, continue to press the envelope forward. Don't stop here, because until all of us feel safe, none of us are safe. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Wise words. Bishop Maribel, you'd care to add something? Thank you.
in this world that we live, so many could rise up to be a brilliant statesman, an eminent theologian, an authoritative leader. Sometimes these are men who can impress the world with their intellect and social graces. When we call the name of Bishop Bradley Coffey, when my homeland devastated with earthquake, Bishop Coffey was the only person that said, Bishop Mabel, I will go with you. And when we travel on that 747 jet, the pilot said, that's the very first time I will land in the island. And I look to my right to Bishop Coffey, and he was strong. He was the faith. I can see a halos over his head. And I believe that halos allowed this pilot land in the island of Haiti safe. I believe, and I'll be very quick, I believe Bishop Coffey is one person that you find once every 500 years, because I see the way he was with me in the island and the way he is here. He is a community fixer. And I'm so grateful. Now, I'm ready to go home. I can see his son, his wife, his family here, and that makes me feel good. And as I said the other day, I'm grateful for Pennsville. When I came here, I was only 31 years old, and I'm now 68 years old. And I'm so grateful for all of you, Commissioner Hameche, Commissioner Van Young, Commissioner Jerry Serino. I'm so thankful for the United States of America. I'm so thankful for God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. With God, all things are possible.
Thank you, Bishop. We also have our Sheriff Liam Bruno. Would you care to add anything to the discussion? And Chiefs, just stand by if any of you want to chime in now. I'm getting lots of looks here.
Geez, I really have nothing to say. I think I speak for all the chiefs who came here, because we're all excited about this opportunity for more information. I want to make it clear, I have the opportunity to travel around the United States to various police departments, various organizations, and we are fortunate in Lake County with law enforcement here in terms of its openness, its willingness to learn, its willingness to always progress. The chiefs are always going out to different seminars. How can we do our job better, make our policies better, and very open to that. This program that we're excited about, it's not that, oh, thank God somebody's going to tell us what we need in our policies because we have no idea. I think Lake County chiefs in all the cities have exceptional policies and procedures. And we share them with each other. Where it's a unique county where everybody's very communicative over those things. But I guess I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I'm still not an attorney, but maybe to make this more simplified, I guess. You have the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, I think, gets like 8,000, 10,000 cases they're asked to be heard every year. And they hear about, 80, 100 of those requests. And there's like 11, 12 circuit courts throughout the United States that are all divided. So we're in the 6th Circuit here in Ohio and Michigan and Tennessee. And so we have rulings. If the Supreme Court rules something, everybody follows it. If 6th Circuit rules, we have to follow it here, but maybe not The 11th Circuit, which is sort of wacky out, or 9th Circuit, sort of wacky out there in California, we may not have to follow theirs. But how do we sort those out for our policies and procedures? Sheriff's Office has 400 people in our jail. We have 268 policies. We have, policies for our front office, policies for our road patrol, court services. And every department here has the same frustrations. We're excited about the opportunity to have monthly updates. A group that sorts this out, that's their job, is to sort out what these rulings are so we can enhance our policies and procedures and make them as beneficial to the people we serve here in our community. So, excellent police chiefs here, excellent police officers, and they're excited, and I'm excited about the opportunity that we can always enhance and progress because we're open to that. So thank you, commissioners, for this.
And Jerry, do you want to add in?
Sure. Just some kind of, before we take any questions, I don't know if are we getting online questions, Jason? Okay. We can certainly take some questions, but I do want to conclude. First of all, and Sheriff put it very, very well in terms of what this is. This is a program, and we're going to be committing to a 5-year program here, okay? And it's going to be upwards of $1 million, as our release, I think, covers here, over that 5-year period, for rolling this out throughout the county. We're going to be going out for bids, as we are required to do by Ohio Revised Code, certainly, and we'll see what kind of responses we get from that. But we've already scoped out our specifications for what we're looking to have here. And the commissioners are in the process of working through exactly how we're going to finance this for a 5-year period. First of all, I'd also like to, before we do conclude here, for the sheriff and all of the chiefs, we want to thank you for your service and for the service of all of your team that you have back in your cities and townships in Lakeland Community College and the Sheriff's Department. We really, as I said at the beginning, we really are truly blessed here in Lake County. I've lived here for about 47 years. I'm about the same age as the bishop here. It's a good age to be. And I have never felt unsafe in Lake County. Okay? And yeah, we have crime in Lake County, and Chuck Colson, our prosecutor, does a great job with his team of making sure that crimes get dealt with appropriately, certainly. But we are very blessed to have a safe community, and we want to make sure it stays that way in all respects going forward here. And that's why we're prepared to not to defund, but to invest in our community, and that's really what this is all about. So I would ask the sheriff and all the chiefs here to please, the next time you meet with your officers, is to pass on our gratitude and our thanks for the job that they do. It is very important, and I know we all certainly appreciate that, as well as to the prosecutor's office for helping protect us in Lake County as well. So at this point, I think we'll take any questions that anyone may have. Andrew?
How is success for the program going to be?
Well, I probably should leave this to the chiefs, but I think from a civilian perspective, the adoption and implementation, as well as the metrics. There's going to be daily training, as indicated earlier. There will be sign-offs for accountability, both from the agency, as indicated earlier, from the agency to the officer, from the officer to the agency. So you will have a full tracking history that all policies that are part of the system are in fact being read, and there's also the daily training can be on each individual subject. So you'll get feedback through the system naturally. And when you start looking at it over a time period of 5 years, there should be a very good case to look at this on an ongoing basis beyond the 5th year. Chiefs, if I've said anything, I'm getting some thumbs up, so that's always a good thing. So, other questions? Oh, come on, there's got to be more.
When you say a system, is it going to be something that the public can see online to look at how it's going?
Policies are a public record, and I would have to imagine, I will leave this to the legal people in the room, but I would imagine testing results and the feedback that comes from that testing, I believe that would also be a public record. So yes, you should see almost a scorecard or a grading card type format would be available. So yes, you would actually be able to see that. Anything else? Marion? No? Anyone? Oh, yes, sir. There you go. Now's the time.
You said that you're putting this out for bid.
Yes.
Usually those have matching costs. How is that going to be paid for? And what happens if you're not able to get a bid that you're looking for?
We're not looking at doing matching costs. I call it cutting down excuse trees. We're not going to be asking any of the communities to have to take from their budgets. We're not going to be asking any department to have to choose between having an officer on the street and having this program. And we are, candidly, I'm going to be straight up. Last year we did a $1.5 million grant program for infrastructure. We kept that during COVID. We made a promise, we kept it. We're making a promise to move forward with this. It will be paid for. And it's not going to come out of the pockets of the local departments. And I can see it in the eyes of the chiefs back there. They're happy to hear that being said openly, publicly, and being reaffirmed.
We will figure out a way to get this.
Yes.
We wouldn't go out for bid unless we thought.
Anything else? And we are also blessed to have Mayor Morley here from the Mayor's and City Managers. He's been an absolute pleasure to work with through this process. We have Katie Berger of Dave Joyce's office, our congressman, and as we all know, our congressman has been incredibly supportive of public safety in our community in general, and this is an excellent match for that. So with that, if there's no further questions, I think we can bring this press conference to a close. And I thank you for your time and look forward to seeing this being implemented. Thank you all.